Hi everybody, Angus Campbell here. Sunday the 6th of October 2024. Right back onto the Bonneville, which from this angle looks absolutely complete, but it's not quite. A few little pieces of jobs to finish off. The first one being, let's attend to some minor issues with the electrics, and having thought about it a while and taking in a few comments as well, I think we know where we can focus in on most of those. So the major one is that at the moment the battery's disconnected, the fuse is out, although the battery's in the bike, because when we attach the fuse, i.e. both terminals of the battery then are active, then the headlight comes on, even though the headlight switch is in the off position and the ignition is in the off position. Now, the headlight switch is quite unusual in that even if the ignition switch is off, then you should be able to turn on the park light. So you are going to get a live feed to that headlight switch, even if the ignition switch is off. So if it's incorrectly wired, then all sorts of things are going to happen. So we've got the issue where the headlight dip beam filament comes on with the battery connected, even with the headlight switch off, and also the rear light doesn't work, and all those are going through that switch. So first things first, let's get the lens off and we'll have a look in here, and it's just going to be a case of the switch being incorrectly wired up, I think, because there's plenty of terminals on it and I've probably got it wrong. The other thing is that the left indicators work but the right don't, and that might have something to do with the way that I've wired it up in here as well, because when I was attending to some jobs in the last video, I found that the wire from that indicator, I hadn't plumbed it in the headlight. It was just dangling loose, and I might have actually put it onto the wrong side of the circuit. But right, let's have a look in here and get this off first. Right, we're in, and the first thing I've noticed is that, I don't know whether this has made much of a difference, but these two are the wrong way around, look. So I've got green and red there going into the green and white connector block and vice versa. So those two need swapping around, so we'll do that first. And then we'll have a little look. The main light switch is behind all this lot. These warning lights and connectors are awful. They shouldn't be like that, because they're being pushed back by the headlight lens, and it skews them all up like that, and I don't like it. These were never like this originally. They were actually small connections going off to the side. They went long spades on there with these damn great spade clips and horrible hard plastic, insulation sheaths. Absolutely bloody horrible. So I don't know how I'm going to get around that. Not very clever. But anyway, behind there, we can push them out. Behind there, we'll get to that light switch. So I'll probably actually take these warning lights out the way and connect them up outside of the headlight shell, so we can get to that switch at the back. That's a good idea. Right, let's do these two wires, get these out of the way, and have a look at the back there. Well, it looks a mess, but I'm actually making good progress. So I took the main light switch out and found out I'd got it wired wrong for a start. Second thing is, we had bad earths on the red side. Don't know why. They were plugged in all right, reseated them and they were fine. And the other thing that we found was that with respect to the right hand indicator, which is all sort of red-green wires, there's a bit of a loop here, and I'd got two of them the wrong way around, so just swapped them over, and all of a sudden everything started working. I'd got the switch off there to check that inside as well. It's not a very good quality pattern switch, but anyway, it's okay. So ignition on, we've got the oil pressure warning light, right indicator, back as well, left indicator. Now you'll notice that the rear brake light is on, and that's because we've got it apart at this end, and this is an early version of the rear front brake light switch, whereby this little switch sits inside here, and that little pin there, when you push against that, if you look, I'll push against it, light goes off, let it go, light comes on. So spring loaded, and what pushes against that when that's sat inside there is that Phillips screw there. But the problem is the end of the Phillips screw just doesn't line up with that pin, and that is a common problem with seating these properly inside here. And so the workaround, some people might call it bodge, intuitive modification, but workaround anyway, is you need to broaden the tip of this pin. You can't bend it because it has to push straight, if you like. Not by much, I know. But what most people do is put, put a head on that. So the way I'm going to do that is, it's already slightly roughened up anyway, so it's obviously had issues in the past. I don't think it's worked for a long while because the terminals on the other side here were all crusted up. So I'm going to put a blob of Araldite on there. I mean, this is nylon anyway, so Araldite should complement that okay, and we'll see how we go with that, just to broaden it up. At the moment, when this is seated inside its housing, the tip of the Phillips adjuster screw sort of comes above it. So if we broaden it primarily on the, well, how will it be? It'll be sitting in like that. So we've got to broaden the tip of it on this side, the upper side there. It doesn't help as well in that this has been opened out a little. I had to do that a little bit, but it does seat properly, and it is nicely tightened down with its little tiny screw, but it's just, this pin is just in the wrong position, and I don't really want to mess about with the heat gun bending all this lot because we've got wiring and everything all sort of tied into it. So let's just do the obvious thing. Okay, lights work, ignition's still on at the minute, nearly tripping over everything. Horn works, battery's still okay. Don't want to leave the ignition on too long, don't want to burn out that electronic ignition stator. The rear brake light works. So I think we've just about addressed everything, save for that little job we've got to do on the right hand side. So let's mix up a bit of Araldite now and get that hardening. And then the final couple of jobs, we'll check the tyre pressures. I need to adjust the rear chain and line up the rear wheel properly, go around and check all the fasteners. Then we'll fit the seat properly. Then we can do a fuel test. Everything's tightened up there, just make sure we're not leaking anywhere with respect to the crimps, etc. And basically prep her for a startup in a day or two's time. Right, there you go. I've shaped a little Araldite button on the end of the pin. Hardened up overnight, and if I need to file that or shape it, whatever I can do, and that hopefully will work. I mean, one of the other options that people might say is, well, you know, where it mounts here, why don't you just pack, if you like, or shim this underside surface, so that when you tighten it down, it sort of lifts it up a bit. But the trouble is with that, the little security screw is so tiny with very few threads on it that you just haven't got enough length on that to potentially secure it down with any further packing without potentially stripping threads. And you can see there's minimal number of threads on that anyway. So that's why I've done it like that, and that's the way other people have done it as described on the net. So I'll mount that up now. We'll see how she fits. The only other thing is that this pin does rotate, and that's not quite sort of a central symmetrical pin head, if you like. But it doesn't really need to press on it too much to deactivate the brake light. Keep it off until the lever is grabbed. Anyway, let's mount it up and see how we go. Oh, many days later, and as you can see, it's all together. The right hand handlebar, switch, block and front brake, lever, etc. And if I turn the ignition on, I don't know whether you can see this or not, you might not. Try and go down here. If I press the front brake, we have a front brake light. Right, I'll just turn the ignition off. So it's all together, and that's because this has been on and off so many times. But in the end, I think when I last left you with a clip, I was trying to increase the head size of the brake light switch pin that engages with the back of that adjuster screw there, such that when you pull the lever, this screw obviously releases the switch pin in there, which then allows two contacts to be made, and it's lining up the end of that screw with the brake light switch pin. And in the end, what I had to do was I had to ditch the original mounting screw for the brake light switch within this housing and change it for a longer screw, so I could actually raise the brake light switch off its mounting with shims. Well, in fact, the shims were washers, and 4 of these washers I used, i.e., whoa, can you see that? There you go. So what would that be? It's not 1/4 of an inch, but it could be 3/16. Ignore the carbs in the background. That's how much I had to shim the switch under its mounting base to raise it up so that the 2 pins, or the pin, would line up with the adjuster screw. Right, so there we are. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give it a polish. I've checked the tyre pressures. I've just got the stay to finish on the seat. Which side is it? That side. The wire stay to stop the seat going too far over when it's up and damaging the side panel. Gently does it. So, got the wire stay all the way. I'm just going to cut it length, solder the loop on the end, and then we've got to just drill a small hole and then put a self-tapping screw in there just to keep the seat sort of in this position, really, i.e. keep it off the hinge off the side panel at the back there, the left-hand side panel, in such a way where the seat will stay there on its Todd, something like that. Oh, and the other thing I've got to do is I have got, I think at the front here, yes, the final two bits. That is, we've got the battery mat, rubber, the battery strap. We've also got the stickers for the headlight, and in here as well we've got a new instruction sticker that goes under the underside of the new seat in the same way that that one did on the old seat. There you go. So what's it to do with? In fact, it's technical information, and it's damn handy. So it's talking about timing, N3 spark plugs, spark plug gap, contact breaker cap, inlet and exhaust. And we were right, yeah, it's 8 inlet, 6 exhaust, so it's opposite way around to what do you think. Capacities. So basically quite a bit of the information that you'd normally get in the owner's handbook. So that's very handy. Anyway, we've got a new one of those in that bit of cardboard there. Well, I haven't opened it yet. I hope we have. In that bit of cardboard, they've got a new one to go on the new seat. Right. So you know what that means. Next up, it'll be startup time. Now, today is now Friday the 18th of October. So we've been on with this video, with these video clips over a period of time, but that's because then we've taken the Furies to shows and stuff like that. And next week I'm away, so it'll be the week after. So the week before we start thinking about taking the bikes over for the NEC Classic Motor Show. Right, so we'll leave it there, at last. I don't think there's any more challenges left. We're bound to be mistaken as we go along. Right, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for all your interest, comments, and any subscriptions. And we'll see you all again soon, when hopefully the Bonnie will come alive after, what is it, 2 years. Cheers.